that gets into business of promoting a virtuous life as they see it, or promoting fairness in the economy as they see it, or promoting democracy around the world, they can only do it in one way, at the sacrifice of liberty. That is why that program has to be rejected. We have to restore the principles of the founders of this country and restore the Constitution. Understood this very clearly. They had been through rough times. They knew that the country had to come together. Two of the main reasons why we had a constitutional convention was to make sure that the states didn't have protected barriers and could travel around the country freely. Also to have a strong national defense. But one other thing that they had understood, because they had the runaway inflation of the continental money, the destruction of the continental dollar. So therefore they came up with this provision that only silver and gold should be money, never paper money. Since there is no authorization in the Constitution for a central bank, that means that the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional and we should work to get rid of it. That I'm proud about in this campaign is that the responses and the supporters understand the monetary issue. In Washington, they still don't even know the issue exists. They're burying their heads in the sand, or they don't want to hear it. Those who are in charge would not like to hear about it, but they will hear about the monetary issue. This is the first time in over 100 years it has been brought up in a presidential election, the fact of the money issue. Jefferson thought of the first national bank, he got rid of it. What did Jackson do? He got rid of the second national bank. Now it's time to get rid of the third national bank. In the debates, and I bring it up constantly. I've been bringing it up ever since I ran my first election, 1974, and I talk about inflation being a tax. Of course, Bernanke doesn't agree with me. He's always arguing with me. And when I complain about the inflation, he says, don't worry, we'll take care of it. We're concerned about it also. But inflation is the increase in the supply of money, which is done by a secret bank for the benefit of special interest, powerful financial people in the world. And this is done by diluting the value of your money. It's a seductive tax. It's immoral and illegal, and it eventually destroys the economy. And unfortunately, we are moving rapidly to that point where our dollar not only will be in trouble, but it will be in a serious jeopardy of totally collapsing. That is why we have to reverse this trend. Understanding of the business cycle coming from the conventional wisdom of the economists that are pervasive in our system as well as in Washington, that it is a consequence of capitalism. In the Depression, they said the collapse was due to capitalism and the gold standard. The collapse, the financial bubbles come only when there's artificially created credit, artificially low interest rates, a lot of malinvestment, a lot of excessive debt, too much government interference, and it inevitably leads to a collapse. So right now, we've seen a couple. Just in recent days, we've seen the collapse of the NASDAQ bubble, the collapsing aspect of the housing bubble, and soon we might have to deal with the total collapse of the dollar. But I'll tell you what, I believe we have answers for this. They're not that difficult. We can find it. We can find it in the ideas of freedom and the limitation of government power by just following the Constitution.